As UPSC interviews are going on from last few days, candidates are appearing for the personality test. I want to suggest how to avoid certain common mistakes done by most of the candidates in the interviews. Also, I want to tell you how to prepare, how to strategize your overall preparation to avoid these common mistakes. This is based on three things. Firstly, as I do several one-to-one mock interviews, both offline as well as online, from last few years, I observed these mistakes in several candidates and I have given feedback to them, and most of them are able to improve upon that. Second is, at Sarat Chandra IAS Academy, we do panel mock interviews also, wherein retired IAS, IPS, IRS officers or senior working officers sit in the panel, conduct mock interviews. Based on that feedback also, I have collected these common mistakes which most of the candidates do. The third thing is, our students, after their UPSC interview, as they talk to me, they tell me how they have done the interview, and as their mocks come after during the results, comparing these two also, I understood the common mistakes. So based on these three things, I am going to list out what you have to avoid while attempting UPSC interview, personal test. Friends, firstly, the most common mistake observed is candidates do not listen to the question completely. Some of the questions asked by the interview board members would be lengthy questions. You should have patience to quietly listen to the question till the end. Even in between the question, you may get answer in your mind, but you should not start answering. You have to listen the complete question, because the last few words of the question may completely change the meaning of the question also. For example, if they want to ask you, what are the common problems faced by farmers in your state, in your district, if there is a question, towards the end, as they complete the question, they may say that, keeping in mind the lack of awareness. That means specifically they want to ask you, because of lack of awareness, what are the problems faced by the farmers in agriculture. However, students miss those last words. They immediately jump into the answer. Because of that, they won't be answering to the question. Generally, any interviewer would not be happy if the candidate does not exactly answer the question. Just like UPSC mains also, some candidates do not understand the question exactly. They'll address the question partially. Same thing is happening in interview also. So don't do that. Listen to the question completely. Even after the question also, take few seconds of gap, so that you can comprehend the entire question, so that you can prioritize the points in your mind. Generally, when we start the answer quickly, our first few points may not be really good points. But if you take a break of few seconds, prioritize the points, and then patiently if you start answering, then definitely the first 2 or 3 points will be the best points. So please do this and avoid this common mistake. Second thing which I observed in the candidates is that some candidates, maybe they want to show confidence, but they come across arrogant. For example, when the interviewer's question is not clear, we have to say, sir, I request you to repeat the question. You cannot say, what sir? Sorry sir, what sir? You should not say such kind of things. Means you have to understand that it is a formal conversation. Of course, it's a conversation, but a formal conversation where you are talking to your superiors. Imagine that you are a sub-collector talking to collector, or imagine you are a collector talking to chief secretary or any other department also. So in that way, you have to show respect. You should be humble while answering the question, or when you are asking them to repeat the question. On the other side, on the flip side, I observed that some candidates are submissive. They're too submissive. Maybe they want to show that they are very good people. So what happens is, they'll be frozen. They talk, okay sir, yes sir, okay sir. I mean, they show as if they're very submissive. That's also not required. See, it may be a formal conversation, but you can be at your best. You no need to be submissive to anybody. Specifically, in certain states of India, I observe the candidates who are very submissive, and certain states of India, I observe the candidates to be arrogant. So try to balance these two things. It's not very difficult. Generally, try to record the interview. For example, when I do one-to-ones at Sarat Chandra IAS Academy, either offline or online, or when we do mock panel interviews, we record them and we give the recording to the candidate so that they can see it for themselves. They can understand whether they are submissive or arrogant. Second thing. Thirdly, friends, the art of saying no. See, telling no is important, and art of telling no is also very important. You can pick it up very easily. It's not a very difficult thing to do. Firstly, what happens is, in some interviews, in some boards, certain boards, there will be more factual questions. In factual questions, if you do not know the answer, you cannot bluff. Even if it is a very simple fact. For example, if you are a computer science engineer and if the question is what is software development life cycle, it may be a very simple fact, a basic question expected from a computer engineer. But if you do not know the answer, don't try to bluff. Don't think that by not answering the question, they lose impression on you. Please don't think like that. If you do not know, you do not know. Be confident, courageous. Tell that, sorry sir, I could not recollect it. Sorry sir, I could not remember it. Sorry sir, I will go back and read about it. I mean, in different ways. The art of telling no. You can tell no in different ways. Instead of always telling, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know, you can tell in these ways. Also friends, in certain boards, they will be asking mostly opinion based questions. In such cases, you cannot say you do not know, because when they ask you opinion, you have to tell your opinion. For example, if the question is, do you think the recent decisions taken by India against Pakistan in the last 3 or 4 years, do you think we are going in right direction? You cannot say, sorry sir, I don't have opinion on this. You cannot say like this. Based on what information you have, you can say, sir, based on the limited information I have got, this is my opinion. You can say like that. So friends, opinions, never say do not know. Also, I suggest you to develop the opinions in the next few days or weeks before the interview. You try to read articles or try to watch YouTube videos where they express their opinion videos, opinion articles, so that you understand how the editor or the speaker in the interview or editor in the article, writer in the article, how they arrive at an opinion based on the evidence, based on the facts at hand. How can you come to opinion? That's very important. Your opinion should be evidence based. We call this as evidence based approach. Your evidence should be based on certain facts. It cannot be illogical and loosely hanging in the air. So friends, like that you should know when to say no, when not to say no. Some candidates, the common problem I observed with some candidates is, in an interview, if they do not know more than 4 or 5 questions, let us say some 3 questions, 4 questions, they say they do not know. They are honest. But after 4 or 5 questions, they start losing the confidence. They'll be afraid. They'll be thinking that if I say more don't knows, if I say more knows, I may get less marks. So what happens after 4 or 5 don't knows, from 5th question onwards, even if they don't know, they'll start bluffing. They'll start managing the question. Managing in the sense, without knowing the answer, you'll talk something, you'll blabber something, which is very harmful. Even if you say do not know for 50% of the questions, still you can get 200 plus marks. Marks are not given based on what you know, what you don't know. Marks are given based on the clarity. You should be very clear whether you know or whether you don't know. The lack of clarity reduces the marks. Then friends, the next point, the next common mistake which I commonly observe is that most of the candidates try to answer the question unidimensionally. For example, when a question is asked, they'll tell only 1 point or 2 points. They'll try to elaborate those points. But best answer is something where you can answer in multiple dimensions. Try to tell multiple points. That's what we call as brainstorming. That's why I always tell the candidates that after listening to the question, take a break of few seconds so that you can think multiple dimensions. You can think multiple points and you can answer in multiple ways. For example, friends, let us say the question is, why do you think your state, for example, the state of Andhra Pradesh or state of Tamil Nadu or state of Maharashtra, whatever, why do you think the eastern Maharashtra, the Vidarbha region, is not developing as much as we expect or as much as we want to be? Or why the northern Andhra Pradesh is not developing as much as it can be developed? That means it is not realizing the full potential. Why? There, some candidates answer the question in only 1 or 2 points. They say that, sir, agriculture government is not focusing enough. Basically, you should never criticize the government directly, but some candidates say like this. government is not focusing enough on agriculture. First point, they'll talk about agriculture only. Secondly, they may tell about, sir, the population there is mostly, or illiterate, or mostly it's a dry land, or mostly there are no industries. Like that, 1 or 2 points, they'll close the answer. My suggestion is, try to think in multiple dimensions. Tell that, sir, transportation facilities, government is doing well, but still we have to improve the facilities. As transportation is improved, the market will improve for the farmers. The inputs can come easily. The product can go out easily in the market. Number 2, sir, in the long term, good education institutions and good industries, good not only capital intensive but labor intensive industry should be established, sir. Government is actually having a good policy in the direction. They're trying the best. However, I feel more still this industry should be encouraged. Then, sir, healthcare. Then tell about awareness among the public to develop the skill development. Awareness among the people to enterprise. I mean, for self-employment. Then you talk about agriculture. Then you talk about the interstate trade around that area. Then talk about the revival of water bodies there, increasing irrigation facilities there. Then talk like that. You try to talk about multiple points. You prioritize the points, tell 4-5 points, but don't stick to a single point. Don't think unidimensionally. Even, for example, if they say the problem between Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, the water issue, what do you think? You don't take one side. Don't think unidimensionally. Tell what Tamil Nadu has to do. Tell what Karnataka has to do also. Try to tell both sides. Never take a single side. Finally, you can tell your opinion, but you should come across as a candidate who has idea on both sides of the coin. This is a common mistake which I observed many candidates. The solution for this is, friends, you can avoid this mistake by doing more brainstorming during preparation. During preparation only, for every point, every question, you should try to draw the lines and write multiple dimensions and try to write multiple points. Revise them. Think in the direction. When you sit with your friends, ask your friends to ask questions, and for every question, try to tell multiple points. Try to brainstorm. So, this is how you have to prepare for interview to avoid this mistake. Then, friends, another mistake I observe is students answering the question like a viva voice. I mean, in the engineering colleges or generally in the schools, in the intermediate colleges, we do viva voice. Viva voice means when a question is asked, you will just answer the question. Just answer a single point question, keep quiet. No, friends, UPSC personal test is not viva voice. It is a conversation. When they're asking about some issue, try to start a conversation on that. Try to explain it. Try to tell your opinion. Try to tell multiple points so that they will also get interest to continue the conversation with you. If you tell a single point and stop it there, they also lose the interest. So, try to have a conversation. Also, in your conversation, try to tell some interesting points so that the interviewers, by listening to their points, they'll ask more questions on those points. I call this as leading the interview. You have to lead the interviewers. You have to tell them some interesting points so that they get excited and they ask more questions on that. So that the direction of interview will be as you want. Of course, every time it's not possible because interviewers are also smart enough. They know how to break the conversation, start a new topic, but still you have to try. Your strengths, you have to expose them. For example, if your strength is in tribals or if your strength is in education sector of India and if the entire interview is going on, let us say international relations in which you are not strong, you should somehow try to bring the interview back on to education. Somewhere, for example, if the question is about India, China, somewhere you have to say, sir, for example, take the research, sir. Research, China is spending more than India. It's time India's higher education institution have to invest more in that. So, you are actually moving them from IR to education. Then they may ask questions like, okay, tell me higher education institutions, how they are ranked. What is NIRF? Interview may go in the direction. For example, if you have worked very well in the robotics or software, whatever, during the interview, somehow bring the topic of robotics. Bring the topic of software. How the India can compete with China in the robotics. How robots are the future. What are humanoid robots? Where in India is standing. How young people of India can be encouraged in doing that. What is technology behind that? Manufacturing of robots. Means try to lead the interviewer, give the cues to interviewer. If it's interesting, they'll do the conversation. See, they want to test your personality based on the conversation only. Friends, for that, you should show energy. I observed one common mistake you should avoid is lack of enthusiasm. While doing the interview, you should be enthusiastic. You have to show energy and passion while discussing a topic of your interest. You cannot be like, sir, yes, sir, robots in India are manufactured, not as per as China, sir. You should not talk like this. You should say that, yes, sir, definitely, I think in future, India can dominate the manufacturing of robots, humanoid robots. We are going in right direction. You have to show that energy, that enthusiasm, that passion. You have to lead the interview. So I would combine all these things into common mistake by candidates. Number one, not leading the interview. Number two, not striking a conversation but just talking like Viva voice. Number three, not showing energy, enthusiasm, passion. Number four, not bringing the interviewer into your core areas, your strong areas. You should do that. Generally, as I do one-to-one mock interviews, sometimes in my one-to-one mock interviews, either offline or online, I do session only on DAF. For example, I ask questions only on your hobbies, interests, extracurricular activities, all these things. And another one-to-one, my second one-to-one mock will be on a parental background, education background, job experience, your news of your district, your state, your village. So my one-to-ones, I divide them into multiple sessions so that I can expose the candidate to various questions. Friends, if you want to register for one-to-one mock interviews with me, you can click on the link below. Or if you want to do only panel mock interviews, either offline or online, you can register accordingly. So the senior IAS, IPS, IRS officers or retired officers will be part of these mock interviews. Now friends, coming to the next common mistake which you must avoid, that is arguing. Don't get into argument with interviews. You may feel that if you argue, you appear as very confident person because you are standing on your opinion or taking your stand strongly. But no, you should not argue. You can have a healthy debate for once or twice, one or two statements you can make. After that, you have to say that, yes sir, I will definitely try to think about the points you tell, and I will try to, one more time think about my opinion. You should tell like that. You cannot keep on arguing, telling that the interviewer is wrong multiple times. Of course, if you do not accept with the opinion of the interviewer, you have all the liberty and right to tell that, sorry sir, I beg to differ with you. I think what the government of Gujarat has done is correct in that aspect. Sorry sir, I beg to differ with you. I think that India's stand when it comes to USA is correct. Now, like that, you can tell. Definitely, they will also try to push you into wrong direction. But you should be confident enough to stand on the right direction. But you should not get into an argument. You should not try to argue with the person for a long time, the interviewer. Tell your opinion strongly. Tell that, okay sir, as you said, I'll try to think about it. I'll try to think about my opinion once again, sir. Close it there. Because argument unnecessarily will reduce the marks. Sometimes you can see that interviewer does not like certain points. He does not like certain people. You can understand that while talking. At that time, you should be careful. You have to stop discussing about those things. Another most common mistake, friends, not preparing on the local issues and not prepare on the DAF. I observed this in the candidates who are facing the personal test even in the month of March, April also. They get 3 to 4 months to prepare. Even then, they are very weak in their local issues. For example, if you are from the state of Rajasthan, you should know Rajasthan recently what steps they have taken for rainwater harvesting or water management practices, or how they are, what is a new policy regarding aerospace, or how they are encouraging local industries, how MSMEs are encouraging, or anything, any recent issue that happened in Rajasthan. Means you should know, you should be aware of everything. That's why while reading newspaper, UPSC prelims and mains, you read national news. But for interview, you have to read local news. Try to get the current affairs from the State Public Service Commission. Candidates preparing for the state PSC will have current affairs notes of last 6 months, 8 months. Go through it. Try to understand the overall issues of your state. It's very important. Students are not doing it. Even DF also. Candidates, after writing the DF, they're preparing on each topic for only some 5 or 6 dimensions. That's all. Not enough. Take each point in the DF On that point, prepare all possible questions, write the answers. Based on those answers, expect what questions can be asked, write those questions, again write answers. It's like a link, a chain of questions, like a train of questions. Friends, you have to prepare so much for interview. You have to write so many questions, expert questions, write the answers briefly, what points you want to tell, again one more questions. So it becomes 30, 40, 50 pages of notes on DAF. You should prepare like that. Just like UPSC prelims and mains, you have to make a proper notes, revise it. Only then you will be confident. You should know the possible questions. In the interview, out of 30 questions asked in the interview, at least 10 to 15 questions should be known to you beforehand, so that you can give the best answer for those questions. If every question is a stunner for you, definitely you cannot perform your best. Also, some students completely lost touch with conversations, because in the last 3-4 years of preparing for UPSC prelims and mains, they only sit down in the room, read the books. Sit down in the room, read the books. They stopped talking to people. Because of that, they lost the touch with communication. Such candidates, friends, try to have a strong peer group. Even at Sarat Chandra IAS Academy also in Hyderabad, Vijayawada online, we have a peer group. If you want, you can come and join. You can have group discussions. There no need to be somebody who mediate that. Just sit down, have group discussions, have debates. Ask them to ask some questions. You ask them some questions. Try to have long conversations. Try to get back in touch with conversation, because UPSC preparation certain times kills the very senses of the person because of being isolated, preparing for a long time. Such candidates, friends, interview is a golden opportunity. You cannot miss it because of losing touch with communication. Come back and work on it. Prepare very well. You can easily get 190 plus in the interview. I have observed many candidates who got 140, 130, 120 after next attempt, as I worked with them with multiple one-to-one sessions, mock interviews, group discussions. As I observed them closely, in the span of 2 months, every 1 week, 2 weeks, I could see their improvements. Based on the feedback I have given, I could understand the improvement. Finally, they are able to get 195 also. There are some candidates like that who got very good marks, and there are some freshers who actually lack good communication skill, but actually they improved. See, my feedback may be 20%, but their efforts, their hard work based on the feedback is 80%. I've seen candidates like that. Finally, friends, body language. Certain people have issues with the body language. I would say it's okay. Some people may have habit of moving their hands mostly, or moving their eyes, moving their head. I know that you cannot stop that, and don't force yourself to stop all those things. Try to slightly change, that's all, because the UPSC board is very mature. They have a combined experience of more than 60 into 5, 300 years combined experience. They're very mature. They can understand. But such body language problems try to appear in the UPSC kind of mock interviews. For example, at Sarat Chandra IAS Academy also, in Hyderabad, we have the setup of interview room, which is exactly like UPSC board. So you can get that ambience, that feel. For that feel, you can appear for interview or two, mock interviews, where senior officers will be sitting and doing the mocks. They'll observe the body language. As 5 of them will be there, each of them will tell you how to improve your body language. So body language is also very important. Very important. You should not overdo anything. Try to focus on that one. Friends, this is what I want to tell you through this video, that you should avoid these common mistakes so that you can easily improve your score. And personal test is a golden opportunity. You cannot get again and again. Once you get the chance to go to interview, you have to get 190 plus, 200 plus. You can do it. All the best. Do well.